And welcome to another episode of the Thanks for Sharing podcast. We are, I forget already, I'm going to say broad, and I'm pretty sure it's bought, and it doesn't matter. We are brought to you by Dan Rouse at Cherry Hill, Mitsubishi, or Nissan. He sells cars. KO Pest Control, KCD Construction, Pace Roofing, Colt Recording, Hoover Delivery Service, ERT Restoration, Art History, Black Sparrow Tattoo, The Great and Powerful Four Seasons Landscaping, Sharky's Barbershop, RD Realty, Bone Marrow, Capital Adjustment, Santini's Grill, A-Plus Insurance at Tyson and Castor, and IV Innovations.
Dude, that's basically like you're brought to by an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. That's just one big fucking AA meeting. Everything you just said.
That's where, that's where I get my viewers, and that's where I get my sponsors.
I get it.
They're like, how many roofing companies do you want to sponsor you? And I'm like, all of them.
Well, the raddest thing I think before was, and I don't know if it's even true, but I would see your sponsors and I'm like, they don't fucking sponsor him.
No, they all know about it.
Yeah. And I thought that was brilliant. I'm like, this guy just claims that all these people sponsor him, and none of them do.
Yeah,
maybe they do.
I used to do real outrageous ones. I was like, we're brought to you by Nike.
Yeah, they're like, no, Nike does not give a shit about thanks for sharing. Yeah. I hate to break it to you. No. At least at this point, episode number 1, but maybe episode 12.
Yeah, no.
They'll catch on.
What is this, episode 26? Yeah, they still don't care. I have with me Brandon Novak. My buddy. There was a lot of head games when it came to getting you on the podcast, because I remember I asked you one time and it was very last minute because we had to reschedule the days, and I was like, if he's around, I'll ask him. And you're like, I can't do it. Then I was like, he don't ever want to do it.
No, I didn't mind doing it. I
figured that.
I didn't mind doing it. I just my schedule gets fucking crazy, chaotic, and I just didn't have high hopes.
Yeah, I hear you. And so I got in my head, because I never asked you again after that, and I talked to your boy Stubbs, who did do the podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, your boy's big dick in me. And then my anniversary was last week. I wanted to do you that week, and you were like, I'm away, but I'd love to do it the next weekend. So here we are. I wanted to have a good AA do for my anniversary, so last week I had my boy Dr. Bill McKinney, who's fucking smart as a pistol. Too smart for me.
I believe it.
Yeah, and I believe that. He's a good sober guy, so I had him on, and then you followed up.
Well, to be quite honest, that's not acting like I walk on water or I'm holier than thou, but what I've learned in my sobriety is my time is the most valuable asset that I own. And I never looked at life or my time that way before. Two of my biggest character defects is I hate confrontation, and I'm the biggest people pleaser in the world.
Same.
So with those two paired together, I dig myself deep on a daily basis.
Oh, absolutely.
But, having done a lot of work on myself, that's kind of changed, and I'm really grateful for that. Not as much as I would like, but more than it was. Yeah. And there'd be no way that I wouldn't say yes to this, just because for the sheer fact of like when I used to be in treatment, and they had us at Today Incorporated, and they would pile us into the druggy buggy, and they would take us to Sweet Surrender, the old one at the church.
Yeah.
You were there, and you had been there for some years prior, and like you were established and kind of like known, and and you were always very nice to me. You were always very kind to me, and I was always very observant and aware of my surroundings, and I don't forget things like that. So I like always, when I hear your name or see what you're doing, I get very excited about it, because genuinely, although we might not see eye to eye on some perspectives or the way we go about things, ultimately, deep down, the most important thing about people is the characteristics that they carry and the qualities that they possess, and both of those that you have are like really admirable and desirable. Oh, well, so thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you for being around. You were always one dude that fascinated me because I spoke when you were in treatment.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that this morning of when I first met you. I walked into Today Incorporated to bring the meeting in, and I just remember sitting in the perspective of a rehab, and it's like, you're sitting through these meetings that they make you go to, and the last thing you want is some young kid coming in, especially like if you're a little farther along in life, or just in general, because it sounds insane to get advice from like a young kid. And I think I went into that. I'm 32 now. I think I was 26. I had 2 years sober, and I remember I had like blue hair, and I was like, I was like, these fuckers don't want to listen to me, dude. They're like, probably think I'm just a piece of shit. They're like, this kid thinks he's got it together. And I remember I was like acting a little hard in the meeting. Not hard, but for me hard, which is not that hard. And I was like, let me flex on them real quick because I'm doing good in life. But now we met after that. You started coming around, and I was always fascinated. And I remember I would talk to you in the beginning. I was like, it has to suck, right? Because there's a level of notoriety, and I guess for lack of a better word, fame. Not even a lack of a better word, but success. And it's just, here you are in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and it's like, hey man, I saw you on TV, and I'm like, that has to suck, dude. You're just trying to get your life together. But
honestly, I'm grateful that anyone fucking gives a fuck.
Yeah,
to be honest. But it was weird. It did one of two things, right? Like it allowed me to transition or merge into Levittown quite easily, right? Because people were very kind to me.
Oh yeah,
for that reason. So it was pretty easy to make friends. But on the flip side of that coin, like I went from Today Incorporated to Good Friends, and Good Friends is a 6-month program. You live there, and they help you get a job. It's state funded, so they pay your way, and you work and you get a job and you just save your money. And it's a pretty tight ship. And I got kicked out after 2 days for smoking in my bedroom. And it wasn't that I didn't like want to follow the rules at all. It was the fact that at that point in time in my early sobriety, because I stayed at Today Incorporated for 90 days. So literally on probably day 92, I was getting put out of Good Friends, because like when I would come out to smoke or socialize with the guys in there, which were great, they just had questions that did not pertain to the reason why I was there.
Right.
Like I didn't want to talk about, was this guy funny? Did that hurt? Was this real? Not that it was fucking disrespectful. The stakes were just too high for me to be there and kind of just.
Yeah, you're trying to get it together.
I had my eye on the prize,
and that's a good thing. And
so it was, depending upon perspective, it was a good and bad thing.
Yeah, and you actually helped me out with that, like through the process of me starting to do stand-up. And I like get to meet cool people every once in a while, and they're just people at the end of the day, which is, I think, the most important thing. And I always talk about never meet your heroes. Yeah, because it can just suck sometimes.
It absolutely can.
Not that I don't have heroes, you know what I mean, but it just.
I met mine in Switzerland on the night of my 4 years.
Okay.
I went to Switzerland. Well, we went to Paris. Or no, we went to Amsterdam. Me, Greek, and which was on here.
Yeah, George was on here.
And my tattoo artist, Mitchell. He lives in Richmond. And for a while, every year, I was going to like a different country on my anniversary, and we decided to go to Amsterdam. And then my favorite band, the Libertines, who my idol, and someone I still really respect tremendously, is a fellow by the name of Pete Doherty. He's the lead singer of the Libertines. He was with Kate Moss when Kate Moss got caught sniffing all that blow, and they blamed it on her druggy boyfriend. He's just a fucking brilliant man in my mind, in my eyes. A lot of people don't even know his name.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to meet this guy. I had tried fucking religiously while I was getting loaded. And we'd be on tours in Europe, and a couple of the times we shared the same tour bus driver that he had. So he'd be like, oh, I put you in contact with Pete. One time he like was in the mountains and he was detoxing, and someone agreed to bring him to meet us at a show in downtown London, in Camden Town. And on his way there, he got in a car, he jumped out at a red light and he took off. Yeah. Typical behaviors that make complete sense in active addiction. But it never worked. So finally, we're going to Amsterdam. I find out they're playing in Switzerland. It's a big deal. I'm celebrating they're playing the night before my 4 years. So at midnight that night will be my 4 years.
Oh, awesome.
Right? So I'm like, dude, we're fucking going. Right before I start to like line it up, and I have kind of a couple of my people like looking in to get me tickets or talking to someone on the tour, they say, hey, we heard Novak's coming. Would he be willing to do an intervention on Pete? And I'm like, fuck, this guy's my idol. I've tried to meet him my whole life. I don't want him to fucking hate me.
Right.
Like, he will not take kindly to some fucking guy showing up to fucking do a AA fucking intervention.
Right.
Fuck you.
That's worst case scenario, meeting you here. It's like, listen, you can meet him, but you're doing an intervention, and it's like, I don't want to do that at all.
So yeah, I want no part, and I'm a licensed interventionist, and I still want no part of that because this guy is like I'm like a super fan. I have a humongous tattoo of him on my arm right here. Yeah, I fucking named my one cat Peter. I'm insane. I didn't tell him all that because he'd fucking think I'm weird.
And like, I got a cat named there.
Yeah, I got like lyrics of his tattooed on my fucking arm. But so we get there, play the show. They play the show. Afterwards, they bring me backstage, and half the tour managers and like the people on the tour are like partying, doing their thing in the back, and then like. Wait, they have me in a room and then they bring me in and it's Peter sitting at this big fucking table with like his chick and a couple of, and it's almost midnight and literally we start talking. He's sitting there, I'm here. Ask my favorite song. I tell him, he plays it for me acoustic. Oh, wow. Goes super well. But while I'm talking to him, he's smoking crack the whole fucking time. And literally the church bell rings across the street at midnight. My 4 years, I'm sitting across from my idol as he's smoking fucking crack.
Yeah. See, that's cool in my opinion. He
wasn't a dick though. I was really scared. I'm like, because be careful about meeting your idols. The point of that really long-winded story that I don't even know if it came to this. Listen, I was like, fuck. I hope if this is really gonna suck if he's a dick. Yeah, which totally could have happened.
Yeah, which I met some people and I'm like, that didn't go.
In my mind, we were gonna be best fucking friends, buy a flat together. Maybe I'll learn how to play an instrument. We'll start a band. You know what I mean?
He won't be weirded out about the cat at all, dude. It will be great.
Totally.
No, but I am big into that, dude, because it's just, and like I said, you helped me out with a lot of just seeing as people. And it's not even like I was like the biggest Viva La Bam skateboarding fan. It's just, I knew who you were. And it like took some time. I was like, because I remember I spoke in rehab and you just had a face. Yeah. And I was like, I know that dude from somewhere, dude. And someone was like, you don't know? He was on MTV. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which it's great for you. I'm just saying, and it's like, what am I gonna do? Be like, man, loved you on MTV.
Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered. You could have said that, or you could have said, "Fuck off." I hope you die in rehab. I wouldn't even have known because I was so at that time in there. They literally had to, Today Incorporated. It's not a big elaborate complex that's hard to figure out. It's really fucking cut and dry. It's like a 4-bedroom house, basically, but a lot of rooms in between. For the first 3 days, Rob, who you might know, Rob, he's a Northeast boy, NA guy. He just celebrated. He had to show me. He was my roommate, and he had to literally. I'd be like, Rob, where's our room? Can you show me? Yeah. He'd have to walk me to our room for like 3 or 4 days in a row. Yeah, that's insane.
You're in the fog, buddy. I get it.
That's being fucking generous.
Yeah, and and what a wild. That's about 6 years from now, and I'll never, dude. You are synonymously. I got it.
I was wondering what that was.
Your sobriety is like linked into my life because my nephew was born that day. So I never forget May 25th. Yeah, so I always make sure to shoot you a text because I got to tell my nephew happy birthday, and it's just like, what are the chances? Not that there's crazier things in life, but I just like, no, my nephew's turning 6. Brandon's gonna. I'll take
a compliment any way I can get it. Yeah, I'm fucking easy.
So it always stuck out, and we went through all the crazy road trips of your speaking engagements, dude.
Early on, before I really honed my craft and tried to figure. Like I was just. It was great. It was early sobriety, man. Yeah. We'd jump into a car. People would ask me to speak at these AA meetings. Yeah. Some in the middle of nowhere with 4 people.
We're going to fucking Phoenixville. I got everything. Don't even know, dude.
But it was really good times, man.
Dude, it was fun. And I remember we tried to get you to do like the usual AA bullshit that like all the old timers are like, yo, we're gonna go to a diner after we drove for 3 hours because I'm starving. And you're like, I'll get a salad. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I always, you know what it was? I never gave a fuck about my health before, but I was so broken this last time that I remember being in rehab and they would tell me I was just so fucking sick, so ill. And I remember them saying, if you eat better, you'll feel better. And no bullshit. I'd probably heard that a million times, but this time I actually listened and it made it through my fucking ears. And at that very moment, I cut out sodas. I just process of elimination. I started doing away with a lot of shit, and it worked in treatment, so I just kind of kept it going.
Yeah, I'll go through phases of it. Like I'll lay off soda for a bit. Right now, I'm not.
Yeah,
I tried. Like, energy drinks are like because I don't do coffee, I don't do tea, I don't do anything like with caffeine other than that.
See,
and
I never got into energy drinks because of that. I was scared.
Yeah. And there's been a couple. Like I remember my first day out of treatment. I'm living in the recovery. Not my first day, but I'm living in the recovery house. I go back to work at Applebee's, and I've been gone for a month. And I remember I drank like 7 Red Bulls before I went in, and like it felt like I just took a blast. And I was just like sitting in my friend's car. She's sober too, and I was like having a panic attack. And she was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "They all hate me in there."
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So I felt your pain right there just through that story. Yeah. I was never a uptown, get hopped up kind of guy. I love shooting speedballs till the fucking sun goes down.
See, I was always a fan of uppers, but opiates were my thing, though. It was just the weirdest, I guess. Yeah. It's just how it goes. It was, I had, it was a good day when I was able to score the dope that I needed and the blow that I wanted. Right.
Yeah. Christmas had come.
Little cherry on top.
That's it, man. The simple fucking wins in life.
Yeah. Yeah. So stuff like that had me fascinated because I was listening to you on Toby's podcast, and like we were talking a little bit before, just like how like mesmerized they are with just active addiction, kind of like when they were hearing like, oh wow, that's crazy. And I'll never forget, I always equate it like hearing people like us talk when I was living in the recovery house, and some dude was like, I was shooting up in the bathtub and I fell out, and my mom walked in. And he's horrifying story if you're anybody off the street. And I remember the one dude we lived with was like, "You take baths? Weirdo." And that's just how I always equate it, like people like us when we talk to each other. It's like that the abnormal becomes normal, most certainly.
Yes.
And it's just the fact that he focused, like, not that you fell out in a bathtub and your mom found you, but the fact that you take baths is weird.
We're wired differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love it.
Yeah.
It makes life a lot easier.
Oh, dude. Where would I be without these nutcases? You know what I mean?
I don't even want to try to imagine.
Yeah.
It's where the misfits fit.
Right.
Right? Like they get me, I get them. We work well together. Exactly. We pair well together. Which says a lot as to why I'm probably a 42-year-old man who's single that lives at home with 3 cats.
Yeah. Hey, it says a lot about me too.
There's a lot that's to be said about that.
Yeah. I get it. I have that fear of growing up, dude, because I'm 32, still live with mom and dad. Not that they're in a rush to get me out or am I a rush to leave, but I'm just like, I'll just get some dogs. You know what I mean?
You sure you're not in a rush to get out, but they might be in a rush to get your ass out.
I really don't think they care. They got rid of 2. My oldest brother has like 17 kids now. You know what I mean? He just had triplets, so it just keeps adding on.
Yeah. Maybe.
During the quarantine, I realized they were just been bored without me. They're like, "What do we watch?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And they're like, "You pick stuff." So
better man than I. My mother's my spirit animal. I can't get enough of her. And in theory, I go to Baltimore probably a lot.
She's great. She's a spirit.
In theory, I'm like, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna stay with her for a couple days. We're gonna do this. I get there in fucking 10 minutes. I'm ready to smash her head in the wall.
Yeah.
I love her more than anything in this world.
Absolutely.
But I'm just set and accustomed to my own ways, which is not helping anything.
I'm the same way. I don't like change that much as it's the only constant in life. I'm just like, I fight it so bad.
I do.
I'm just like, you know what? Like, especially like when it comes to stand-up, I wanted to take it off, but I'm like super fine, safe at my bartending job that I've had for the past 9 years.
Yeah. I'm just, routine works well for me.
Oh, yeah. It's rinse and repeat every day. And without it, I probably wouldn't be sober till this day.
No.
It just... And the schedule's changed. Like, I was hardcore AA for the first, 5 years every day.
Sure.
Yeah, and now... the quarantine helped a lot with breaking that cycle because it just cut down. Because I got so burnt out of hearing, the same fucking people.
Sure.
And it just... When you go into AA, you realize you're dealing with people. And it's like, not everyone's like that.
Yeah.
It's a chance to speak a good game.
Sure.
And for the most part, people are great. They're good guys, good girls in AA, but it just, sometimes you hear some things that are too good to be true, and you're like, man, fuck that guy.
Yeah. No, I get it. And that's the cool thing with sobriety, and I couldn't agree with you more, is that the only thing that's remained the same for me in a month I'll have 6 years is my perspective of a drink or a drug. That's the only thing that's remained the same since day one. Everything else has continued to change, evolve, rearrange, you know. So I've kind of, dude, I don't know, and I don't want to turn it into like a whole fucking holier than thou spiritual experience podcast, but the honest to God truth with my deal where I'm at right now, and that could change next month, is that fuck, it's so cliche it's even saying it sucks, but it's like, you know, acceptance obviously is the answer, but I don't really hold on to any convictions that I've created off of my beliefs, which come from my insane fucking brain.
Yeah.
I'm not married to these narratives, because ultimately what I do know, and I'm proved it on a daily basis, is that the longer I'm sober, the more that I acquire, the further along I get in life. It really just proves to me that I really don't know, right? Like I didn't take these classes to get to where I'm at today of like, you know, owning a couple businesses, owning some properties, fucking investing in this, all this, the stuff I have my hands in it's just, I simply dumbed my way into it.
Yeah.
I literally dumbed my way into it. I realized that I am the common denominator in my problem. If I get the fuck out of my way and I follow the lead of some like mentors of mine that I have and believe in their process and the outcome that they've gotten from their deal, there's no way I can't win. You know, so, and also then at that level, it takes away the expectations.
Yeah. I'm with you. And I'm big onto it, especially when it comes to convictions of other people, of what I thought of certain people. And I'm just like, when I get rid of those and I realize, like, I'm like, they never did anything to me and they don't think of me as much as I think of them.
Absolutely. Well, you know, it can, and ultimately at the end of the day, and I say this a lot to myself, I say it because I wake up, you know, two ways every day. Don't you know who the fuck I am? Or right. Please, God, don't ask me who I am. Yeah. there's never a happy medium to those two, you know, positions I'm taking. But ultimately, at the end of the day, because here's my deal: I don't play well with others, right? Yeah. I don't. I'm an instant gratification kind of guy. I don't follow the chain of command well. I like to go right to the horse's mouth and get immediate gratification for whatever it is that I'm addressing. You know, me personally speaking in my work world. Again, me being such a creature of habit and set in my own ways, that doesn't help. But what I'm trying to say with that is that I'm very quick to form or create these false narratives, right? That my brain's coming up with to support my behaviors. But what I do know is that where's my spirituality if I'm judging your spirituality?
Right.
I say that to myself a lot during the day.
Yeah.
So with that being said, acceptance is the fucking answer. Because I'm not in charge of running this deal. It's really so simple. And
it's how we get, and I think that's how we started off talking in this podcast, of just the notion of, I was like, he don't want to do this fucking podcast.
Exactly.
Like, and I just get wrapped up in my head.
Sure.
And just, yet again, smashing a conviction of what I thought you thought. And I'm just
yeah.
I'm like, there's no way he'll ever want to fucking do this. And I'm like, why wouldn't he? He's your friend. And I'm like, yeah, you know.
I'm the same way. Like, here, because with me, my OCD, I'm self-diagnosed OCD, right? Yeah. Like, and really that's just bullshit. What's happened is the psychic change has taken place as a direct result of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, which allowed me to have the spiritual experience, which is the definition of a psychic change. I no longer think how I used to, how I do, right? Night and day. And before, I really think I was a wake up where I waked up kind of guy. You know, I wake up where I land. Now everything has order. There's a way that things are done. And one of my OCD pet peeves is I like to fucking return people's calls, like, or text, like, immediately.
Yeah.
So now I expect others to do what I do.
Yeah.
And the moment that they don't, my mind tells me I'm about to fucking be terminated from this position. I'm about to lose this deal. She's fucking him. You know what? All this crazy shit.
I get it.
You know?
And I'm the same way with everything that you just said, especially when it comes to doing this, because it's organizing people, which is
I'm horrible at that.
Yeah, because it's fucking, did music for so long, and usually that's a group effort, and it's just organizing people is the fucking worst. And just organizing one person a week is a nightmare, dude. And I just get anxiety until the person shows up. I'm like, I hope they fucking show up, because it bums me. Like, this is my interaction for the week with people.
Sure.
Ever since the whole quarantine. And it's not that like I don't like going. It made me realize how much I enjoy being at home and just not dealing with people.
Right.
So, but this is like my interaction, which it's much needed.
This podcast has made you realize that?
Yeah.
I have to disagree.
Yeah, I've
known you for fucking years, and I've always heard you talk about the lack of love that you have for most people.
Yeah.
Because you don't agree in their ways. And you fare well best by yourself.
Yeah.
At home.
So yeah, I probably
I don't think this podcast was the awakening that made you realize that people you believe people are idiots.
It's kind of like, and you can probably relate when somebody takes something away from you, and you're just like, I guess I kind of do miss people. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
And this made me realize, I was like, maybe I do miss people more than I. And I always had this perception of myself that I'll speak negatively, but I'm a very optimistic, positive person at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, most of my thoughts are, it's just more easier to say, like, what's negative in my life. And it's funnier sometimes.
I err on the side of you thinking that it's funnier.
Yeah.
Not easier.
Yeah.
Hence, your career choice of being a comedian.
Exactly.
It aligns with your beliefs.
A booming business, I must say.
You're great at it. You're really good at it.
Well, I appreciate that. I had a couple people.
I'm a big fan.
So stand-up was a weird thing, and it's very similar, like, into getting into sobriety. You're dealing with a bunch of egomaniacs with inferiority complexes who just aren't aware of it yet. You know what I mean? And I remember I said that on stage, and they were like, we're not like that. I'm like, you're all like that, man, and it's a big spot it if you got it, because I'm the same way. But getting into it is always something I wanted to do. AA has helped tremendously. Yeah. Just from speaking all the time. It's better than an open mic when you get 5 minutes to say whatever you want. And anything's topic, and the
crowd's pretty fucking easy.
Yeah, so
because the people in AA, 9 out of 10 of them, if you're anything like me, you don't want to be there. You just have nowhere else that wants you. Yeah. So it's like,
Well, I realized I had a knack because down the street self-help, which is a very urban rehab.
I spoke there.
Yeah, and they were dying laughing, dude.
You're good then.
Yeah, and I was like, if I can do it here, that's like doing the Apollo. I was like, I can do it anywhere. But it was just funny because getting into stand-up, and I start doing the stand-up, and it's just like very like, it felt like early sobriety. It's like you're chasing something. It's fun to do. And I remember a couple people, like my two buddies, they make short films, which are phenomenal. It's Dankman Productions, if you're listening. But
is this brought to you by Dankman Productions as well?
It could be now, dude. But
it's not. Let's just say it is.
Yeah, we're brought to you by Dankman Productions. But my boy Connor's a big fan of yours. And I remember I posted like a clip of me doing stand-up, and he was like fucking starstruck. And he was like, did you know Brandon Novak? Like your post? I was like, yeah, I did. Yeah. And he's like, is that not insane to you? I was like, not really at the end of the day. I mean, it's nice. I'm happy he's watching, and I'm happy he's a fan. So thank you for always supporting me.
I do. I support it every time. I love watching you do it. That's what kind of, to me, what sobriety is. Again, whereas my spirituality from judging yours, my way is not the right way. I'm married to my narrative because it's worked for me. Yeah. That's it. And I kind of look at it as like, for me, getting sober isn't enough, right? Like for me, getting sober was literally like just the day that I came off life support.
Right.
Right. Like I pulled through a coma. I come up from life support, my eyes open, and then the life begins. Now it is enough. I don't want to discredit or take away from anybody where they're at. But for me, I just knew that getting sober was just the beginning, and because of my journey, right, and seeing what I've been blessed to obtain in a very short period of time, and having like mentors of mine that I emulate to be like, tell me like, you haven't even come to yet, kid.
Right.
I love seeing anybody follow their calling, their dreams, their insecurities, their fears.
Yeah, and AA is like a crazy thing where it's like, here you're given a second lease on life, and it's always like embarrassing. Like for me, not even embarrassing, like I'll admit it all the time. It's like, I want to be a professional stand-up comedian. at 29 years old, I decided that's what I want to do. And it's like, AA made it okay to dream again. It was like, hey, why not? Weirder things have happened. You shouldn't be here right now. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I started going for it. Then a whole quarantine kind of fucked up my rhythm, but it breeded this out of necessity.
I was going to say, but did it?
Yeah.
It's all, my disease is centered in perception.
Yeah.
I choose to see the quarantine as us being divinely inconvenienced.
Yeah.
You know, because they told me in the beginning of sobriety, there's going to come a point in time where you have nobody with you and you have to rely on your higher power.
Yeah, and I thought about that a lot during, like, it's like, hey, everything's shut down, and it's like
everything.
And old timers have told me since the fucking day I walked in, they were like, there will come a time when it stands. Not that I had the urge to drink. Like, I was pretty easy. I might like play it up in like a meeting every once in a while just to make someone else feel okay.
Sure.
And be like, oh, I couldn't stop. But like, I remember when I got sober, it was just done.
Yeah, same.
You know what I mean?
Same.
And I don't think I've been to as many treatments as you. I only been 3 times, but that third time in there, I was just like, I'm done, dude.
Yeah, same.
Like, I'm done.
But I wouldn't say it out loud.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, you don't know, never know when never is, all this shit.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was done. But I just was like, I'm just, for the first time in my life, I stopped talking and I let my walk do my talk.
Right.
You know, and people kind of started seeing that I was done, hence my mother, like, accepting my phone calls again.
Oh, yeah.
My family inviting me for Thanksgiving dinner. Because my behaviors had changed.
Yeah.
And as we both know, that's alcoholism.
And I think it's
our behaviors are.
I think it's a beautiful thing when someone like you is like on a little bit of a larger scale and like people see it work. And it's just like there's hope, you know what I mean? And like, you know, and I'm sure you get criticisms like, what makes him so special? I don't know, you know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, well, it's a prime example of that. This works, dude, no matter what. And this dude at Life or Death used to always say, like, he used to go to meetings in Laguna Beach all the time. Mm-hmm. And he was, like, shocked by the guys that just, like, kept coming in and out. And it's like, it's a lot harder when you have indisposable income to stay sober. And I'm like, I get that. And it's just, you need that feeling of being done. Like, I wasn't at my worst bottom when I got sober, but it was just, I was done. You know what I mean?
I can relate. My sponsor always told me, you never get between an alcoholic and their bottom.
Yeah.
Right, and I don't today with mine. I'm a big fan of repercussions from actions.
Absolutely.
So if any of my sponsees call me hoping for an easier, softer way, I'm the guy that like tells his parents to call his parole officer on him. You know what I mean? I'm not that guy.
Yeah. I always think it's funny because like going off that stuff, I was blessed with the most crazy sponsor in the world. God rest his soul. But like just like his perception on things, and this is when I learned to stop like judging what other people are doing in AA, because like he did not take me through AA the orthodox way, I guess you would say. You know what I mean?
I remember
speaking.
Who he was.
Speaking of outside the box, the man was just. I think he was just insane, and I was attracted to that chaos.
Whatever it takes, absolutely.
But just the perspective, especially the dudes I got around sober, when they would talk about sponsoring dudes, and like you get that call with the dumbest idea ever. And I remember my one buddy Matt was just like, I just agree with them at a certain point. Then they start to second guess it. Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And it's like, go ahead, do that. And it's like, he never agrees with me, man.
I guess, I mean, really, there's nothing that I can do that's going to change the outcome of the situation at hand. Yeah. Because I'm not God. You know what I mean? I can say a few things, but I believe, I truly, truly, truly believe that 2 of my biggest pet peeves with words are luck and coincidence. I believe everything is destiny and fate. I believe that we have free will of choice, and if I choose A, I go in the direction of A, and if I choose B, I go in the direction of B.
Right.
You know, and from there on, what happened for me is what I had come to understand now, right, after remaining sober for a long enough time and doing that internal work that's required, you know, to ultimately find the external results that I've always fucking desired, is that now it's very apparent for me to look back in not only the 6 years, but way before I walked into sobriety, even in active addiction. And I can look back and recognize the synchronicity of life's events that have led me to the here and now, right here to this table. Oh, yeah. And I can fucking place them A to B to C to D, and it's just abundantly clear that if I personally, Brandon Novak, do not recognize that a God of my understanding has been doing for me way longer than I ever knew way more for me than I ever could, then I'm a fucking moron.
Yeah, and it's important to remember.
And that's beautiful. And that's that heightened sense of awareness that's come as a direct result, again, of the fucking spiritual experience that I had as a direct result of the 12 steps. It all kind of aligns.
And just where it takes you in life for everyone, you know, like my life went the way it went on purpose.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And
all I did was stop going against the current.
That's it. I just simply got the fuck out of my way.
Right.
My pain had become great enough that I was broken just so bad that it allowed me to open this thick mind of mine up just fucking big enough for me to say, you know, I don't seem to be able to, but Joe seems to be able to, so maybe you can help me.
Yeah.
And you kind of like give me some suggestions. I follow them out of sheer necessity to want to feel better, not because I want to do what you're saying. And then, you know what? Like, I don't feel as bad today as I did yesterday. And I just snowball affected into the here and now.
Yeah.
You know?
I hear you.
It takes what it takes until it takes. And who am I to say what it will be for it to take? What was fucking different with treating someone who were 13 as opposed to 11, 10? They didn't tell me anything I missed in the first fucking 12.
Yeah.
Things just aligned. Why 3 for you? You know, it's just It's the way it works, man.
And I always tried to look at it because speaking of cliches, because big cliche talk right now, but people would always say, like, I never heard a worse story than my own because I lived it, which to a point I agree with, right? But like a lot of my friends were just out there, like real deal. I'll die in Kensington. Like, this is where I want to be. And like, I'm like, they had it worse than me. I'm not even going to act like I didn't have it that bad, but my pain was enough to get me in. And I get man. That. Yeah. But there's people on a larger scale who have struggled way harder than me. And it's all the more rewarding when you see someone like that getting. You're just thank God.
There's a guy in my new book that came out, the sequel to my first book, Dreamseller, and him and I had done dope. We did dope for the first time together in Baltimore, and he was a guy that I swore he was the one that was like, I'll never be as bad as him. He will absolutely die with a needle in his arm, no questions asked. And when he got sober, I'm like, holy fuck! And now owns a couple of recovery houses in Baltimore. He's the guy that I look to when I need to believe that God's real. You know, but that's the thing, man. They talk this. Oh, here we go with the cliche-ish things. Call it what you will. The reality is, they saved my life, and the life that I was living, the pain that was attached with those decisions that I made on a daily basis, were not only unbearable for me, but for all the loved ones in my life. You can't put a price tag on those fucking cliches. You know, so people are like, dude, is this just you all? And I'm like, yeah, it fucking is. It absolutely is.
They're the most time-tested thing in all of...
It's insane, but not really.
Yeah, I get I always like gravitated toward the cliches early on because it was the most honest I could be. I think people forget like the level of... It's tough to be honest.
Fucking right.
For anybody.
Absolutely.
Especially in sobriety, early sobriety.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, like... For me to be able to say one day at a time was like as honest as I could get and mean it.
I get it.
Yeah.
I always hear people say, you know, I went out and I got loaded because I didn't work a thorough 4-step. And I'm like, that's not the fucking case. You weren't honest.
Yeah.
You weren't honest when the desire appeared to want to take a drink or a drug.
Yeah. I
think that's where it stems from, personally.
I always try to break that down. You just did it in a very elegant way, and me, I'm more kind of like dumb about it, you know? And I always like try to tell people, and it probably gets misconstrued so many times, because I'm like, if you didn't do a 4-step yet, you're not going to step out of here and spontaneously combust. Like, you're all right, dude.
Yeah.
Because I get it. There's a lot of pressures in early AA's getting younger. You put these kids in recovery house, and like, you can't go out on the weekend unless you're done all 12 of these things that have taken people a lifetime to do in a month. And I'm like, well, I don't, and this is just my own opinion. I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily right, but like, how honest can you be doing that? And that's why it's constant work, dude, especially when it comes to stuff like a 4th and a 5th step. Like, there's still stuff that like, I just don't remember that it's like
on a daily basis,
you know, that I just call someone and I'm like, hey, listen, I just got to tell you this, because if I don't talk about it real quick, I don't want to know what it leads to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't have a sponsor anymore, you know what I mean? Not by my own choice. I had the honor of speaking with your boy George Greek last week, and he's just very happy not having one. He's like,
yeah. Dude, save yourself and do not follow in his footsteps.
Yeah. Well, his was out of choice. Mine was out of he's dead. You know what I mean? I was like, well, my guy's dead. He was old as fuck. What do you want me to do? You know, but
that's point proven right there.
Yeah.
For Greek, my best friend, met in treatment. His treatment center number 1, mine 13. He's still sober to this day.
Oh, he was a one and done? I don't think I ever knew that.
He was one and done. And I'm 13 and done at that point, God willing, at this point. Yeah. You know, so it just goes back to say, like, dude, if I had the guide to a perfect life, I would bottle that thing up, I'd sell it, I'd be a billionaire.
Absolutely.
I debated for a lot of years and I shot dope for a lot of years.
Yes. Then we go back to perspective. What is a perfect life?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Dude, I'll tell people, like, oh, what's your take on MAT? And I'm like, if you want to drink 180 milligrams of methadone every day, and it allows you to wake up every morning with that lust for life and jump out of bed with the life that you believe is worth living for and waking up for every day, I'll fucking take you to the clinic.
Yeah.
It's not my fucking way of going about things, but if it's yours and it gives you that happiness and the peace that you're looking for, I'll fucking drive you.
Yeah, and dude, and I got taught, because I never want to forget what it's like to walk into AA, and I never want to feel like what it feels like to be that dude. You know what I mean? So I have a couple friends that are doing the California sober thing, which is very popular now. Yeah, and I'm just like, listen, it's working for them right now, and I hope it continues to work.
Fucking
for
right,
them,
man. Like, who am I to say what way to go about living a happy, productive, sober life is?
Yeah, and
that's insane.
I'm a big advocate. If people can make weed work for them, I'm not saying go out there and try. Yeah, but I'm not.
Again, I'm married to my narrative, which is 100% abstinent based.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, you used to shoot a bundle into your neck a day. Go try, you know. But it works for some people, dude.
It does.
You know, there's weirder things in life.
I know for me, I've tried it, and it never worked.
Ditto.
So if people look at my life, because it's kind of in the public forum, and my anonymity is the exact opposite. I don't hide my recovery or sobriety. But if you see my life and how it was as opposed to how it is, and you're interested in finding out how I got there, I'm more than happy to share it with you. And if you want to try that way, I'll kind of help guide you through it. And that way happens to be 100% abstinent based.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat with you. I believe what you believe. Yeah. And I don't look any different at people who aren't on board with what I'm on board with.
I'm cool with it, man. I'm cool with it.
We all got to live our own lives. But the California sober thing fascinates me because it's very popular right now.
Dude, someone actually just messaged me the other day, and they're like, you know, I just saw Demi Lovato's interview or post. I don't even know what it was. And she says she drinks moderately, and that's more power to her. But this person was like, it really has me wanting to drink. And so that I can't, you know, if I don't know. Everything I'm going to say is my opinion, and that means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm just waiting for Philly Sober to catch on, which is 80 milligrams of methadone a day.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, and getting a roofing job and being like...
You have a lot of sponsors at that point.
Yeah.
You'll be walking away from each episode with like $1 million in the bank.
That's going to be Philly Sober. It's like I got a job at the local 98 and I'm on 120 milligrams of take-homes a day. And it's just like, I'm doing good.
Dude, I was at Life or Death last night, and I swear 9 out of your 10 fucking brought to you by sponsors were there.
Yeah, they were
Dan
all there.
Rouse and the pest control company called me today.
Yeah.
About...
Oh, yeah, he does your pest control. You're his favorite author, as he always jokingly says.
I love Dan Rouse.
Dude, he's an interesting guy. See, I was fascinated because he was sober a long time, went out, and now he's sober again. But long time for a young person. So, like, we had the same amount of time. And I think he went out like 2-3 years ago or something.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's crazy. And yet again, it was one of those things. I didn't treat him any different.
Yeah.
Because God forbid if he wants to come back, and at the end of the day,
that's
he's
insane.
my
How
friend.
could you treat someone dead? I mean, I hear that it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I'm completely submerged in, like, maybe some might say the AA world or just recovery world, because it's kind of like what I do in a lot of different ways. I'm really disconnected from it. Yeah. So, like, I don't hang with groups of people. Stubbs and Greek are the two probably that I hang with on a daily basis. When I hang with people, usually it's my 3 cats. Yeah. But I've never like really seen anyone get shunned coming back, and to me that is fucking insane. And that is, I'm really good at like keeping to myself and keeping my opinions to myself, but that I don't think that I could if I saw. Like that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, I get it.
So that fucking sucks that people do that. I hear about it.
Yeah, not that it happened with him either.
No, I know.
Yeah, but
Just
I was just
thinking.
like I treated him the same, dude, and dude, I always forgot because he's mature for his age. I will say, dude, as much as
That's a very polite,
as much as
way to say an ignorant statement.
yeah, as much as he's out of his mind, dude. But like, I was always fascinated.
I was like starting a comment. I'm not racist.
Yeah, I'm not racist, but these are my opinions on this certain group of people.
That's what you just did with him. Except
But now, when Dan got sober and I got sober, we got sober around the same time. I was 24, which is already young. He was 18, dude.
wow.
Yeah, and he stayed sober for like 4 years.
God
and I was
bless
like, that's
him.
kind of crazy, dude.
You trying to tell me what time I have to be in for curfew at 18? Fuck you.
You try telling me at 24
Same.
or 38, you
Dude,
know what I mean?
I was at treatment center number maybe like 8 or 9 in, and just started to believe, and this is at 34.
Yeah.
9 treatment centers in, 34. Just kind of believing that maybe there's a problem.
Right. It might be me.
Maybe, but I'm not putting it all on black there, but
Right.
it could be. But I have a few more plays.
I always like to call that the pop. That's what my sponsor called it, and that's your head coming out of your ass. He said, one day we all hear the pop, and it's stuff like that where you're just like, maybe it's me that keeps ending up in these. And I talked about it. I actually spoke last week yet again with your boy George, which I timed him because he usually goes on rants, which I do too. So the two of us together, it's just not good.
Oh, he told me about that.
Yeah, you were still. I think that's when you were trapped in
I was
limbo.
I don't even know if I would have came if I was here.
I hear you.
I would love to have heard you talk, but I can't stand listening to Greek, and he's my best friend.
Yeah, I get it.
But
Trust
we don't
me.
see eye to eye on a lot of topics
Yeah.
with recovery, and that's the beautiful thing about it.
I think that
the
is
power
one
of choice, man, and individuality.
I learn more from people who think different and were brought up different
Fuck yeah.
than me. You know what I mean?
Dude, everyone carries a message
Yeah.
to me of what to do or what not to do.
Right.
You know?
And I talked about it when I spoke that night of just like what worked for me might not work for you. Because I remember talking about like after a year sober, I started going to nothing but men's meetings, which is like a different ballpark. And people are like, how can something in AA so different? Especially around here. You're more experienced with going to meetings around the world. But Philadelphia is its own interesting thing where just no one agrees. It's very Philadelphia like. It's just like we don't agree with them. Fuck them.
Well, that's why you talked earlier that we're addicted to that chaos and,
Yeah.
and confusion and just anarchy. That's why life or death is always. That's the only thing I go to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's all I go to.
For a while. That Sweet Surrender, which it's more of a just to see people.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely built relationships and like, you know, it's great. Like they'll all meet up at Greek's house and like do stuff.
I'm not a fucking. That makes me cringe at the thought of that.
Me too. Well, I always use Nate as my scapegoat.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, you need to come with me. Because he, for some reason, he sucks the air out of a room, not in a bad way. Like he just draws people's attention. And I'm like, please just, I don't have anything to say to people.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. It's just, you know, how I view myself. But it's the catch-22 of it. Like they'll all be over there on 4th of July, and it's just like I'm just chilling at home, which I'm cool with. But I'm just like, damn, not one of them called me.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah,
I'm the kind of guy that
then I'll see them, and they're like, you could have just showed up. I'm like, I don't show up without being invited. Dude,
and if I'm invited, I'm gonna say no anyways.
Yeah,
but still, common fucking courtesy.
Yeah, it's nice to know.
I won't come to your party, but you better fucking invite me, or else I'm really gonna be offended.
Yeah,
and I still won't come off the invite, but don't fucking not invite.
Well, I went the last time I was there. It was like in the beginning of lockdown, and they did the Zoom meeting for Sweet Surrender. They did it all at
oh god,
at that house, and like the meeting started. I was like, I'm leaving, and they're like, you're gonna miss the meeting. I was like, dude, these. Which yet again, my opinion. Who the fuck am I, dude? I did not get down with Zoom meetings.
Right, and
I was just like, I'm good.
And I get that. I remember I was here somewhere, and a particular individual would always fuck Zoom, and say it out loud. And then I'm like, I don't really agree. Whatever.
Yeah.
But then someone at a meeting like when it was just starting to go back up, she was like new, and she's like, I've gotten sober. I've remained sober for the last 4 months off of like Zooms.
Yeah.
And then that person, and I was at the meeting where this took place, and I'm just an observant from the distance, right? I'm just fucking watching it play out because I know what he always says out loud when they talk about the Zoom meetings. And then this girl just happened to share it, and I was watching. 'Cause I'm like, he's an observant guy, and right there, he's like, I heard him say to someone else, dude, my opinion's changed.
Yeah.
And because, you know, he heard firsthand.
You eat that humble pie.
Yeah, and that was cool.
Yeah. Which, this was at Life or Death, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only meeting I go to.
Best meeting in the world, dude. I really think so. And
I was there last night.
I think it's a little bit different as opposed to like, when I got sober, there was, and there's still negative things said, but like throughout the years, it just always had a negative rap.
That's why I liked it.
Especially Bucks County to Philadelphia, which it's not that far. Like, I grew up in Bensalem, which is the town that borders Philadelphia, and everyone's like, you ain't from Philly. I'm like, I can throw a rock at the Welcome to Philadelphia sign. It's not that big of a, nor do I ever say I'm from Philly, unless I'm somewhere else.
But picture yourself living in a recovery house in Levittown,
Yeah, and
they say there's a
trash.
10 p.m. meeting at Life or Death in Philly. That's pretty fucking extreme.
But for a while, the only meeting I was making was Johnny's 10 o'clock beginner, just because he made it fun, which I think is a hard thing to do in AA.
Yeah, he did. He just, I went to that recently.
Yeah, and it's obnoxious. You did it a while.
I did it with him. He called me up and
Yeah, and he has a very weird sense of humor, dude.
He does.
Like he called you up and called you Brendan, I believe, and you were like, what the fuck?
I just didn't know that it was talking to me. You should have known. Like, no, I didn't know because no one calls me Brendan.
yeah, because it's not my name, but like such a wild meeting, dude. And
it is.
I remember, and I haven't done them because I got, non-confrontational, dude. Like I was doing the AA reviews, and I got like a little bit of.
I saw that. I like that. That was really funny to me.
Yeah, I got a little bit of criticism, and I was like,
"You don't say."
Maybe it's not right, but it is funny.
I thought it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, because I was, dude.
I do remember them specifically.
I was in a big like Barstool thing, and I was just watching them review pizza. I'm like, dude, it would be funny if someone did AA and just gave it low scores all the time. Like, this is not fun.
Yeah.
But my whole plan was to go back to Johnny's meeting,
have
people carry me out, pop confetti, and be like, this is a 10. Because it's actually a fun meeting.
It is.
You know?
But I see what you're saying now that I'm actually thinking it through as you describe that. Because it could, and I'm guilty of it. Most of my life is me contempt prior to investigation.
Yeah.
You know?
I enjoyed this.
So if I heard someone else saying, oh, this place is fucking whatever, I'd be like, well, it does suck because he said it.
Yeah. But like the reasons I would give were just the goofiest stuff.
That was funny. Yeah. I listened to it.
I was like, these donuts suck, dude. And
people
are like,
that's funny shit.
Yeah. So I don't think some people didn't get the joke, and I was just
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring him back because my boy Foley, his dying wish was not that I knew he was gonna die, but he was like, I think you were onto something with those AA reviews, and I was like, I'll do them again.
I'll tune into them again.
I know. Yeah, I'll only do it for like I did the Clubhouse in Levittown and Sweet Surrender. Like 2 meetings where it's all young people. They get it. It's a joke.
I highly doubt that came up in their business meeting.
Yeah. Like I would never go to one of my men's meetings that I love to death and be like,
take real serious.
Yeah. Because those old men would just beat the feelings out of me verbally, which they already did, dude. But it's all good stuff, dude. You were talking about, I don't know if this is a true story. I'm pretty sure because I think I heard it from you, but you did a show one time and you were just wasted, and at the end you just said, "Bye, Dreamseller."
Oh,
is that what it was?
Many a times.
I just think of that from time to time, and I laugh.
Many a times because when I was getting high,
that's income.
I always had another angle to secure some cash in order to buy more dope.
Right.
Like the Howard Stern show, I went on there twice, and each time I went on, prior to me going on, I know like the ratings that show gets are astronomical, and everyone listens to it. Number one, and people die to like have some sort of affiliation. So I'm no fool by any means. And before I'd go on there, I'd call a few of my friends who happen to own businesses,
right?
And I'd say, if I bring your business up and plug your business on this interview, will you pay me X amount of dollars? So 3 yeses had me walking out of 3 yeses from 3 different business owners. Could it, us doing an interview and I just bring in, oh, my buddy Dave's detailing. It's amazing. He just did my truck. Check it out. Daves.com. Fuck off.
Right.
I just secured $5,000.
Yeah.
So I did that on Howard for each time I went. with like 3 or 4 different business owners before, so everything, as is fucking life.
It's all calculated.
It's all a mental chess game that only exists in my brain.
Yeah.
No one else knows that they're playing this game with me.
Hey, doing drugs is a racket.
It is.
That's the stuff we think of.
It is. It's fucking exhausting and draining. But yeah, so everything there was always, believe it or not, an ulterior motive.
Yeah.
I know you couldn't.
I could never.
No.
Yeah, I always just giggled at the buy Dreamseller thing because I think it was either you told me or Stubbs or Greek, and I was like, that's so funny. That
I wouldn't say that. It was probably Stubbs that would say it. Or
yeah, and it's just like, anyways, buy Dreamseller, dude.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, man.
Which is the message of this whole podcast. That's the root of this whole hour, is to buy Dreamseller.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now what's cool is though the times have changed. There's sequels out and stuff, but that's not my. I don't even really think about that anymore. There's some freedom in that.
I know. I remember my best friend.
There's some freedom in that.
My best friend Shane, I grew up with. I remember. It's around when you got sober because he saw I was hanging out with you. And yet again, he's a big skateboarding dude, and he was like, dude, I read his book in Living Green. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, sad ending. And I was like, all right. Dude.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. And I wrote the book while I was getting fucking high.
I know, exactly.
So,
hence the sad ending.
Yeah. I didn't know what people were expecting.
Yeah.
But since we're on the topic, the sequel to that did come out, entitled The Streets of Baltimore. If anyone out there gives a fuck, you can just
Baltimore.
go to my website, brandonnovak.com, all one word, and that will take you down all my different rabbit holes.
Yeah, you can buy The Streets of Baltimore and fucking Dreamseller.
Yeah, the graphic novel.
Yeah.
I think there's some clothes. There's all kinds of stuff on there.
Baltimore has always had a kinship to me. I have no idea why I used to go there as a kid. I just love that city.
Probably the aquarium.
We never really did the aquarium. We would go to conventions there.
Well, the
Orioles
convention
games.
center.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right there, though.
Yeah, it's all right there.
The aquarium, the convention center, the harbor. It's all the football field is all right there.
I remember in a drug-induced stupor. I just remember I came to at the Inner Harbor, and I was like, "How?"
Yeah.
And Xanax and PCP, and not the safest thing, but I just remember I was like, "I don't think I'm in Philadelphia anymore."
No, it's a difference.
But a lot of things about Baltimore I just always like because I'm a big football guy. Ravens are my second team.
That's.
I know it's something that doesn't interest you.
No, but the Ravens I'm a fan of.
Yeah, purple, great color.
I agree with that too.
I like seeing all the fishes decorated in different things, like the statues of the fishes around Baltimore. It's in the Inner Harbor.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much these days.
Yeah,
I think maybe
I haven't been in
I vaguely remember them.
Yeah, but they did one that looked like a raven, and it was just a fish.
Yeah,
big fan of The Wire, which I was fascinated when I listened to you on Toby's podcast about your grandparents. Was it owned the convenience store Omar got shot in?
Yeah, the which I actually have a picture of on my phone because I have a documentary coming out about my life, and that store has a lot to do with it. But Omar was killed. If you remember the very last episode of The Wire, Omar, the stick-up guy that carried the shotgun, the sliced face, he was in this little bodega, and that little 11-year-old comes
Denard,
in and
man.
calls him.
I'm a fan of the show.
That was my grandparents' store. My grandparents were Arabs. They owned the first Arabs. For people who don't know what that is, it's like when how they began their business. You have a horse, and you put a big fucking thing on the back. The horse pulls it. Hey, watermelon, oranges, all that kind of stuff, and they sell it off that. And then they opened their first ever open air produce market in Baltimore City. And throughout years, that store my grandparents owned was to be left to my father, who, just like me, was genetically predisposed to his addiction from his father, pissed that away and lost that place. But the sign on the front always remained the same, and it just said Novak's Produce, and that's where he got killed.
Yeah, fun fact.
Yeah,
love that show. Big fan.
Yeah, I was getting high a lot during that show.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think my buddy Shane, the dude who read Dreamseller in rehab, I think he was in Baltimore for something, and he was trying to cop dope. No, he would have been too young at the time. Someone I know, and I don't think it was you for some reason, was copping in Baltimore while they were shooting The Wire, and they were the biggest nightmare ever. Which I'm sure you can agree with.
No, that's the truth.
Maybe it was you. It probably had to be.
I feel like I want to say that was me, because it's not something I normally would talk about, but you obviously being the fan of The Wire, obviously had this. And I was copping in those areas where they were shooting The Wire, legit. and I would go to the hole where they were serving, and because of the fucking production crew there, the you name it, they'd give you a card, a playing card,
right?
And they'd say, go down to Eager and Broadway. Eager and Broadway is like fucking 12 blocks from where I'm picking this card up. So now I have to take this fucking playing card, this Queen of Hearts, or I don't even play cards, but like a Jack.
Yeah.
And I got to take this Jack.
They're both cards.
Well, I got to take this fucking Jack, and I got to walk 14 blocks. I've just gave you my money.
Right.
So I just gave you $80, $60. You give me a fucking Jack, and now I got to walk 14 blocks in hopes that there's going to be someone there that hands me my shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you fucking all for a fucking TV show?
That is pretty lame, dude. Yeah, and the one thing about that show that I think they got the beauty of any active junkie out there is that it's kids selling drugs to you, because I don't think a lot of people they see stuff on TV.
Yeah, it was brutal, man.
Johnny talked about it at Life or Death the other day, and I know I bought it up on doing stand-up before. I was like, do you have any idea what it's like to buy drugs off a 14-year-old Puerto Rican kid and him to call you an old man when you're in your 20s?
Dude, that was like one of the biggest fucking perspective changes that I had at the end, where I'm like, it's fucking bad.
Yeah.
Something so simple, and this is how it went. I would go to this dope shop religiously, and this is my last run. And I'm living in my mother's in her bedroom. I put her out of her room. She's sleeping on the sofa. I've never been worse in my life. And I'm a 38-year-old fucking heroin addict who steals money from his mother. Blah blah. You know the story.
Yeah.
And I go to this hole every day, and there's these like 16-year-old kids that serve, right? And they'd say, all right, nephew, how many you want, nephew? And on this day, the day before they called me nephew.
Right.
This day I get there, they say, get in the hole, Unc, how many do you want? In the blink of an eye, I went from nephew to Unc, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
That hurts.
Not the fact that I physically put my 78-year-old mother out of her fucking bedroom.
Fuck all that. I felt your pain.
Fuck that. She's in fear I'm going to burn her house down, so she's sleeping on the sofa next to the front door in hopes that if I catch it on fire, she can make it out alive. Whatever. That's par for the course. But this fucking 16-year-old dude selling dope just called me Unc.
Yeah, you went from Neff to Unc real quick.
Shit got serious.
My heart hurt a little bit.
Yeah. Dude, I still fucking...
I know the feeling.
Isn't that crazy how disconnected from reality we become, where the abnormal becomes the normal?
Yeah.
And that's what is like the deciding factor of like, maybe I should throw the towel in.
Yeah, that's the whole bathtub situation again.
Yeah,
you take baths,
yeah.
it's like, oh, he called you Unc, that's fucked.
Fucking right, man. Yeah, that was...
Not the horrifying reality.
Dude,
like, you're buying drugs off a kid right now.
I'd have no problem with a 12-year-old saying, get in the alley, get up on the wall, stand in a single file line, hoods off, hands out your pocket, no ones, get on one knee. I'll do that with a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
But when you call me nephew every day and then you say Unc, holy shit.
Shit done changed, brother.
Yeah. It was at that moment I realized things were out of my control.
I think that's why I have like such a love for that city. It's just,
Well, you know, fucking, if we're going to walk down history lane here, you love The Wire. Are you privy to The Corner?
Yeah, that was the first. That was before
The Wire. That was like the OG version.
And it was a lot of the same actors, but they did like different roles. Like I forget, I haven't seen it in forever.
You should read the books.
Like I know some of the cops were actually drug dealers in The Corner, and they switched it when they got to The Wire. Like the same actors.
Yeah, but I think they were both really good.
Yeah.
You know, takes on what it was really like.
Yeah.
But The Corner was like the OG version.
And that's my soft spot for Baltimore, just because it's so similar to here, I guess.
What was the bitch about Baltimore, though, is that they had the stick-up boys and they had the burn boys.
Right.
I come to Philly, I only copped in Kensington like 8 times.
Yeah.
I had enough sense to know that like I couldn't fucking handle Baltimore. I burnt every bridge there. I don't want to re-burn every new bridge I've made in Westchester by coming to Kensington. Right. Because I had like a second shot at life here.
Yeah.
And I have some like friends that didn't fucking consist of just who has what, where are they. These were actually good people that wanted me to do good in life. I could recognize that I had some opportunity and I didn't want to redo what I did in Baltimore. So I'd make it a point not to go to Kensington. I would like go way out of my way to go from Westchester all the way back to Baltimore to Cobb.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, but on the few occasions that I did venture into Kensington, literally like no more than 10 times, I remember getting on the block and 4 dudes would come up to me and offer me the same dope. And now in Baltimore, there's only one guy that's hitting with the dope, and the rest are lookouts. And if they do that, then in Baltimore, if 4 guys come up to you on the same block and offer you the same dope, Rough Rider, let's say the dope's called Rough Rider. If I'm in Baltimore and 4 dudes come up to me on the same block and say, Rough Rider, 3 of those 4 are burning you.
Yeah.
I get to Kensington, I get on the block, 4 or 5 dudes, Rough Rider, and I'm like, fuck, but little did I know, like, that was like legit business, and they all had the same dope.
Yeah.
And like, they don't burn you.
Yeah. It's a business down
I was impressed with it.
Yeah. It's run very,
It was.
I wasn't a big fan of it just because I'm not built for it, you know what I mean? And like, the only time I really went there, and I talked about it on here a lot, and I talk about it to just people, and it's like, my whole phase of smoking crack in reality was like probably a month, but it just seemed like dog years.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So like being down there a month, and I was like, I'll go back to doing Oxycontin.
Yeah, I was scared to smoke crack.
Yeah.
Like
First off, it's very difficult to do, and I don't think people realize that. If you've never done it.
It is. I've done it with some people that had never done it, and I'm not a professional at doing it, and I know I wasn't doing it the best that it could be done. I was losing some smoke, let's just say.
Me too. And I always talk to people. I'm like, how good could the push be? And people are like, the push is everything. I'm like, yeah, but it's too much.
Yeah, and see, I wasn't that elaborate or advanced to get to. I'd have someone have to show me how to do that. I mean, I'm like at this point shooting dope in my neck, and that sounded really like egotistical.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to paint this picture of like I was really fucking down and out, and people would offer me a blast, and I wouldn't even take it in the fucking shooting gallery. I wouldn't take it because I'm like, dude, I can't even come up with $10 a day, let alone $10 every 20 minutes. Fuck, like I can't. I know better than that.
Not fun, dude. I broke it down the stages of smoking crack just like on stage one time. Just because you get these 5-minute segments, I was like, this will take about 5 minutes. I was like, I don't know if it's funny, but I don't think people really, like, I educated the people. I was like, I don't even really, in my heart of hearts, think I know how to smoke crack that well, but I was like, it's complicated.
It is.
I was like, you need to get a fucking Brillo pad, a car antenna, fucking.
It's a fucking commitment.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
And it's not for the faint of heart.
For 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was, you know, and people always ask me, so I get to do other comedians in the area's podcasts, and they're always like, so drugs, you probably have crazy stories. I'm like, yeah, I do, but I have more depressing stories if you want to hear those, because that's what it is. Like there's there's few and far between.
To them, it's like watching a fucking a thriller.
Yeah, which is always fascinating when I like get to like see you do something with like an everyday person, for lack of a better word. I always hated the phrase normal people because I think that's few and far between. But like when you do like an interview with someone else and it's just like, they're like, oh, wow, that's crazy. You know what I mean? You were buying drugs off a 16-year-old kid. And I'm like, he called him on though, dude.
That's the crazy part of that story.
Yeah. But abnormal becomes normal, dude. That's what it is, dude. You need to check out this guy, Ryan Sickler. He's a Baltimore guy. He has a podcast out in California. Your boy Andy did it.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's called The Honeydew. And he kind of does like highlighting lowlights. It's my favorite podcast, but it just... If you ever get a chance, he's a Baltimore guy.
I'll be with Andy Roy. Andy Roy, is that what we meant?
Mm-hmm,
I'll be with him in like 2 weeks in California.
Nice.
So I'll ask him about it.
Yeah, ask him about it. Do his podcast.
He's great. Andy's killing it.
Yeah. I enjoyed his podcast. You know, I love him. I fell out of love with skateboarding a while ago, but like I watched his podcast and I was like, that's crazy.
He's phenomenal.
Then sure enough, you know him. And I was
he's
like,
phenomenal,
that's
dude. He's phenomenal. He's a dear friend of mine.
Yeah, he's a sober guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's beautiful to see.
Good for him, man.
He's like doing the deal, you know. He like bought into the concept, and you know, he put a little time together, and he went back out because he really didn't completely buy in, and now he has. And I see him, and we go on trips together and tours, and it's cool to see.
It's got to be fun to have someone like you on the whole thing, because it just like anything, like with punk rock, with comedy, like the worlds just bring a certain chaos to it. Yeah, but it's always good to have somebody with you.
It is, and I'm very particular with who that someone will be, just because, again, I'm a creature of habit and I'm set in my own ways. So there's only a few people that I'm like, oh, I'd really like to spend time with. Again, coming back to how we started this, the most important thing that I possess is my time, and same with you and everyone out there.
Yeah, wherever they went, you know what I mean? I don't even know.
Well,
The
let's
people-
just say all your sponsors.
Yeah, all my
Because you have a
sponsors.
long list of people that this show is brought to you by.
I thought you were talking about my lovely production team who just up and left.
Yeah, well, they were gaming because I
Yeah,
heard
they're
the
gaming.
fucking.
Yeah, you hear the clicking.
And then
Well, before we got these microphones, you could just hear it, and there was a lot of banter off camera, dude. Which
I heard a little bit on here with them.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking.
Which Mark has some of the best calls ever sometimes, and I'm like, damn, you know, that was good.
Your production team just I'm gone.
Yeah.
Just disappeared.
And by production team, I mean Dabron does a lot of work, and Mark made the theme song.
You mean we have talked about how you smoke crack in different intervals, so you might have got them like salivating.
Yeah, they might be
for a
jonesing,
blast.
you know what I mean? Fucking dude, Dabron did that commercial for you. And I remember he was like, "Oh, I'm doing a commercial for Brandon Novak." I was like, "Oh, that's my buddy." Tell him I said hi when you're shooting it, and he fucked with me for like a year. And I was like, "Oh, did you tell him?" I said, "What's up?" And he said he didn't know you, dude. Yet again, those mind
well, you're
tricks.
easy mark.
Yeah, I am an easy mark. I'm gullible, but I'm also not dumb at the same time, though, too. But it was just something believable enough to me. I was like, "Damn, he unked me."
That's the new term.
Yeah, at the end of the day, buddy, we are at the end. I appreciate you. I know the schedule's busy. I know it's hectic. I know you were trapped in an airport all weekend.
Yeah, it's cool though.
But I'm happy you
We're
came
here,
through
we're
and
now.
did this.
I'm grateful you asked me, man. I've always respected and admired your characteristics, man, and how you carry yourself.
Likewise, and always thank you for supporting me and everything I do.
Yeah,
I
keep
try to
doing what
support
you're
you.
doing, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Attach my website to this if anybody gives a fuck. It's brandonnovak.com. And if anybody out there, is in need of help, they can reach me directly at 610-635-9092.
Sounds good. We can name the episode brandonnovak.com if you want.
Or Unk.
Or it's either going to be called Unk or by Dreamseller.
Buy Dreamseller at brandonnovak.com, number attached.
Yeah.
One-stop shop.
It will all be in the bio, definitely. We will have brandonnovak.com. You can buy a copy of Dreamseller.
Just
and
run
the streets
wild.
of Baltimore. Yeah.
You can just do anything you like. You
All
don't
right.
discriminate.
We'll end it nice. I'll call you nephew. Thank you for coming out, buddy. And
I love you, buddy.
appreciate it.
God bless, man.
Yeah.
See ya.